Office of Federal and State Accountability at the South Carolina Department of Education. The etiquette for this Zoom session, we ask that you mute your microphone. This will help keep background noise to a minimum. Make sure you are muted when you are not speaking. Submit all questions in the chat window or raise your hand. The presenter will have a moment for question and answers towards the end of this presentation. Please be reminded to return to the main room for closing remarks from Dr. Green following this session. We welcome you to this session entitled Ready to Implement Family Engagement Strategies. We have Sherrie Belton as our presenter of the Richland County School District number 1. Sherrie is a Fairfield County, South Carolina native who loves asking questions, solving problems, and getting into good trouble for the causes she cares about the most. She has spent the last decade engaging communities across the Midlands through her work at museums and other local nonprofits. In addition to family and community engagement, Belton's professional and volunteer experiences span across many areas: youth development, program development, events planning, grant management, STEM, arts integration, and more. Building relationships in creative ways is her superpower, and she brings that enthusiasm to her current role as Parent and Family Engagement Specialist with the Richland County District 1. At this time, I present to you Sherrie Belton.
Hello, that was so formal. Thank you so much. I didn't know you were going to read the whole bio. You could have cut it just to my name. I'm so glad to be here. I really thought this last session may be a ghost town. It's Friday at 2:00. So I really appreciate everyone for joining me today. As our keynote presenter said this morning, that you volunteered as audience members. And so I certainly appreciate that. But let's jump right in because I have a lot to share with you today. So this session is called Ready to Implement Family Engagement Strategies. And what you can expect is that we're going to talk about ideas for implementing those strategies that we've been talking about throughout the day, the strategies of the South Carolina Family Engagement K-12 framework. Some of these ideas are tried and true. I've done them before in this last year that I've served as a parent and family engagement specialist. I've learned from my great colleagues. Shout out to Richland 1 specialists who are joining today. And some of these ideas are some things that I've been thinking about, exploring, talking to community partners about, trying to figure out how we can make it happen in this current school year. So the title of the summit today, or the focus of the summit today, is More Than Family Night. So what's the big deal about moving away from family night? But like our keynote presenter said earlier today too, that family engagement covers many areas. So it's not that we can't do family night, so we can't do the fun things like donuts with dad and that sort of thing. But we can cover those other areas of family engagement. So we can keep the fun, but we want to answer the question, what do we want parents and caregivers to know and be able to do with their children? And that is something, that's a question that we focus on a good bit in our program in Richland 1. So things to keep in mind as we move through these ideas, things just to consider, check your assumptions. So I got in the habit of doing this when I worked at the museum, and a lot of my work was doing public programs where, you had to go out in neighborhoods, spread the word to get people to attend. And the assumptions, can be anything from, okay, I'm making the assumption by having a virtual program that this particular family has access to internet, right? So check that assumption. Is that true? Do these families really have access to internet? And then adapt your program as you go. Another assumption could be transportation. If we're having a curbside event, the assumption that I'm making if I'm hosting a curbside event or drive-through event is that the families have vehicles to drive through. At one of my schools last year, we hosted a drive-through summer kickoff party. And I checked my assumption and say, hey, you know what? This school is in the middle of a walkable neighborhood. Some of our families may not drive through, they may walk through. So I adjusted that language on the flyer. And then of course, we're still in the thick of COVID-19. So making pandemic pivots. So most of these things can still happen, whether in person or online. Actually, a lot of these things are just pure virtual because that's the world that we're living in right now. But keep in mind the goals of your school and your family's needs and make adjustments as we go through. And also tap your resources. So I'm a techie. I love, trying new platforms and, downloading new apps, but I recognize that everyone doesn't enjoy that sort of thing. So these aren't ideas that you have to do on your own. Tap your resources, tap your colleagues, your other specialists in your district or liaisons, however your family engagement program is set up in your district. Tap other folks in your building. We'll talk a little bit later about a particular program where we tapped one of our special ed teachers who happens to be a DJ on the side. So he could provide some services for a project that we were considering that I don't necessarily have the skills to do. So tap your resources. All right, let's jump right in. I can see very little with my full screen presentation, but if I say something that sparks interest, that piques your interest, give me a little reaction, give me a heart. I grew up in the church, so I love when people talk back to me, and I know we're limited in doing that with virtual presentations. So talk back to me and give me some love in the reactions. If you hear something that, hey, you know what? I'm going to try that when I go back to my program next week. All right, let's do this. Okay, the first idea is parent parties. Okay, full disclosure, I do not take credit for this name. This is a trademark program you can purchase. The schools that I serve, one of the schools, they were already doing parent parties, but it works. Just changing the name of something works because, I want to think about what do I want to attend? I am in my support network for my niece and nephew. And so I, serve on their SIC and go to events for parents who, at their schools. And I think about, okay, what would catch my interest on a flyer that is sent home by them? So just changing that name is a small thing that you can do to increase your attendance and engagement with these events and your parent workshops. So the premise of this is to take elements from activities like Donuts with Dads, Mommy, Son, Daughter dances. What about those draw the crowd? What about those draw people in? And then add that same flair to your parent workshops. And you're going to hit all the areas of that framework when you do this. So building relationships, communication, linking families to learning outcomes, because you'll see in the next slide, you can still have that core piece. For instance, if you want to talk about Read to Succeed, that could be your core, but you can promote it in a way that seems really festive. You can collaborate with other people and partner with your community members. And here is a sample of a flyer. This is an event that's happening next week. I didn't realize that my phone number and Zoom ID is still on there, but I trust y'all. But this event is happening next week, and it's about attendance. September is Attendance Awareness Month, but we wanted the flyer to be eye-catching. We highlighted that there'll be music, though virtual, there'll be games, we'll have prizes, but we're going to talk about our attendance policies. We're going to talk about those new COVID-19 protocols, but we're going to do it in a fun and interactive way so parents want to come back. A huge success for me last year. Last year was my first year in the district, and I was very nervous about how to make this stuff happen during COVID. But to my surprise, the parents were asking about the next event. Hey, are we going to do that again next month? Because that was a lot of fun, which, is always good to hear. The next thing is Paws Club. So this is specific to one of my schools. We are the Cougars. And so our mascot is, a big cat. So we've got the paws. And so we did a play on that, parents achieving with students. And what it is an adult peer learning group. It's small. We targeted parents and caregivers of our kindergartners and our first graders because we really wanted to stick with our early childhood program first and then, um, scale out as we saw success with the program. And we used the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning framework. So that's CAStle. It's an organization that focuses on SEL skills, specifically in schools. So it has a curriculum for teachers or other school support staff to use, not just with students, but with the adults too, because we all need those skills, especially right now. So this club focuses on that, and it helps parents and caregivers recognize, understand, and nurture the development of social and emotional competencies in themselves and their children. So this program is actually a companion program. So we have someone who's doing the exact same thing in the classroom. So it mirrors what the students are learning in class. So not only are we building the capacity for the parents to flex these skills with themselves, but we're also letting them know, all right, this is what your child is learning. Ask them about it, practice it at home. It equips parents with new parenting skills and it fosters community building among parents. A real cool thing that we saw last year, though, we had some challenges that we are tweaking this year, but a very cool thing that we saw is how open the parents were because it's a small group. Like I said, it was only for parents and caregivers of kindergartners and first graders. And so it was a small group and it was online and they got comfortable real fast. And so they shared their experiences this year. They shared some of their personal experiences with schools, which gave me some insight on how to tailor our program moving forward. Now, how we're adapting it in 2021 is that we're seeing parents are kind of burnt out on the virtual programs, and we've got lots of cool virtual programs happening, that are school wide. And so we're going to tailor it a little bit and scale back from the virtual meetings and not meet so often, and then send home some SEO kits for the parents to use with their children in the times between our meetings. All right, our next idea is commercials. And y'all, I'm moving through this pretty quickly because I've got 20 ideas to cover in about 40 minutes. And so I don't want to take too much time on each one, but there will be some time at the end for questions and for you to share anything that's working in your school, but they'll be at the very end. So commercials, publicize your programs and initiatives with commercials. Think of creative marketing campaigns. That's a big part of what we do, like convincing parents to participate. Like once we build those relationships, it's a little bit easier. But we can use the things that we have, right, that we know are going to work, that are going to pique their interest. Again, tap your resources for tech help. But the thing about these commercials, these short videos, they're easily shareable. If a parent's not reading the flyer that goes home, if a parent's not reading the newsletter or they're not answering their emails, you can text them this short video and say, hey, check this out. I would love for you to attend at our next one. And it could be video or audio. So I'm going to play a sample of a little audio commercial. And I use that term loosely, right? Because it doesn't take a big production. A commercial, we were having a parent party, but the focus at one of my schools, they're a Montessori school and also arts integrated. So we had a family night that focused on arts integration, where we talked to parents about what arts integration is and what that looks like in the classroom. And so we had an art night. And so in order to get the parents there, I wanted to pique the interest of the students. And so I made this little audio snippet just with my phone that they could play during the afternoon announcements. I used a song that's pretty popular on TikTok. So the kids will get really excited. So I'm going to play a little bit of this for you now. Uh-oh, let's see. Let's try that again. Coming in. Hey friends, tonight we're having an art party. When you get home, grab your adult and tune in on Zoom at 5:30 p.m. for games, art, and a chance to win a Roblox gift card and a slime kit. See you at 5:30. Just like the fajita, something that I made just on the phone. Like I said, it doesn't take a big production, but if that's not your ministry, tap somebody in the building who's more comfortable with doing that sort of thing, right? Because it takes a team. And here is another example of.
You're invited to join the Paws Club, Parents Achieving with Students. Paws Club is exclusive to families of kindergartners and first graders at Hyatt Park Elementary. Brought to you in partnership with Prisma Health Community Connections and the United Way of the Midlands, with additional support by the Carolina Family Engagement Center. Here's what we know. Students do their best work when they feel safe and supported by the adults in their lives. That's school staff, community members, and you, parents and caregivers. The more engagement, the more likely we'll see an increase in academic achievement. We see similar outcomes in students with strong social and emotional skills, or SEL, which is how children and adults understand and manage their emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. Sounds pretty good, right? But we're combining the two, family engagement and building strong SEL skills, in this unique opportunity. While your children are growing and flexing their SEL muscles in the classroom, we invite you to learn alongside them and from each other. Starting February 3rd, we'll meet monthly online to learn a few new skills, like how to manage stress. And the cherry on top, as Paws Club members, we'll celebrate your engagement with prizes like grocery store gift cards, sweet treats, and more. For more information, text PAWS, that's PAWS, to 803-908-6561. Don't miss out on the fun. We hope to see you soon.
All right, and sticking on that video train, short form media is becoming more and more popular. Think Instagram Reels, TikTok videos, even on Facebook, you're seeing more of these short form media. And even if, like I said, that's not your wheelhouse, that's okay. It takes a team, but you can join the movement by creating these short videos. Now, that was a little bit more than a minute because we had a lot to explain, because we want to make sure that we built that foundational knowledge about what SEL is. But if it's something, for instance, let's say interims just went out in our district yesterday. If you want to get information out to your parents about, what to look for on an interim, the questions to ask the parent or the teachers about the interim, you can create a little video. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can just set up your phone and talk to the camera. That's it. Because I found that parents are more responsive when they get a personal connection, right? So they're more likely to do something if you ask them to do it personally and they already have that relationship with you, rather than just seeing it in a newsletter. And you can use these fast fact videos to teach parents new skills or provide more information on school and district policies and procedures. For instance, last year, we toggled between hybrid, in-person, virtual, and if those schedules are changing, that's an opportunity for you to whip out your phone, make a quick video, and send to parents that they can refer back to when they can. Think about the questions that are recurring. For instance, if you've got parents asking, what do all these acronyms mean? We've got, SIC, PTO, AIP, MTSS, all the things, the whole alphabet soup, right? This is an opportunity to demystify that school lingo and bring it down to, not bring it down, let me correct myself, adapt it to parent-friendly language. And another tip for creating these videos is try to keep the info evergreen. So what I mean by that is something that you can reuse over and over again in different school years. Now, the first commercial I showed you about our Paws Club, that wasn't evergreen because there's a particular start date. That was from last year. There's a particular end date. But if you're sending something about report cards, maybe not say, hey, report cards are coming out next Monday. This is what to look for on the report card. These are the questions to ask in the parent-teacher conference. Just keep it pretty generic and not date the video so you can reuse it over and over again.
Hey, Cougars, I'm Sherrie.
Before we start that, this is another sample of a video. So my school, both of my schools last year were Title I, and we have the task of getting feedback on our family engagement policy, on our school home compact. And instead of just sending that language out, because, if I didn't work in school, I wouldn't know what those things were. I may be intimidated by it or figure it's not for me. And so I made a quick little video. It's nothing fancy. I made a quick little video just to tell them what Title I was and what I was asking them to do.
Hey Cougars, I'm Sherrie Belton, Parent and Family Engagement Specialist at Hyatt Park Elementary. Parents and caregivers, listen up. This message is for you. Hyatt Park Elementary is a Title I school, which means we receive federal funds to support growth and student achievement. Each year, school staff, parents, and the community collaborate to develop the Title I plan. This plan outlines learning-linked goals and activities for the upcoming school year. We also update our parent and family engagement policy and our school home compact. We know parent engagement is essential to student achievement, and these documents describe our shared responsibility in making sure every Hyatt Park student excels. Your feedback is important to us. Please take a look at the parent and family engagement policy and the school home compact and let us know what you think using the online form. We'd love to hear your thoughts by May 7th. If you have any questions or just want to chat, feel free to give me a call at 803-908-6561. Thanks so much, and I look forward to hearing from you.
All right. And just a note on that. So our department utilized a Microsoft form to solicit feedback on those plans. And you can embed that video right in the form. And so once I sent out the link for the form, they could watch the video, they could see what it was about, and then they could go and answer the survey questions. So this next one, this is a little quirky, I know, but this is creating playlists. So music is a universal language, right? It connects us all. And so I've used free music players like Spotify to create playlists for families as a great way to build relationships and keep families encouraged. SEL was a big focus for us, for our family action team last year. And so I created a mood booster playlist. And so it was just a list of songs to put you in a better mood, right? And so I could send it, text it out to parents as needed. Another way to use this, I use this as a kind of icebreaker activity with one of our parent workshops. It had like a name that tune scenario, and it was right before summer where we were talking about summer opportunities. And so all the songs were summer themed. Another way to use this is to get parents and students to contribute. So in one of our Paws Club meetings, we asked parents, again, this was a small group, so this wouldn't work for something like a school-wide session, right? This is more personal to kind of build those relationships. Where we asked parents, okay, we're going on a road trip. What song is a must-have? Like what must be on our playlist? And so they would type their songs, they had a good time, like, oh, you're a Beyonce fan, that sort of thing. And then I made a playlist and sent it out to them. Another way to link it to learning, this is something that we talked about last year, didn't quite get off the ground, but we're hoping to do it this year. So our fifth graders, they were doing a novel study on the book Wonder. And so working with our reading coach, we're going to have some companion activities for parents to do at home based on that novel. So one way to bring in the music, especially if the parent may have some literacy challenges of their own and may not feel comfortable participating in an activity about reading, this is a fun way to get them involved. And so, have your child tell you about the chapter and you create a playlist about the mood or, the characters, that sort of thing. And again, this isn't something that I was doing on my own. This was working with other folks in the building, like our reading coach, who have that content knowledge of, what to look for, what to ask for. All right, the next idea is a Google site. So Bitmoji classrooms were all the rage when the pandemic hit. And an extension of that is to create a Google site. So this is an online hub. You can use it for anything. You can use it for your team. You can use it for your SIC. Our department is creating one to share like our cluster events and more information on our district specialists and upcoming events at our sites. but you can use it at your schools. And so we don't have a parent resource room for parents to come into right now because we're offering curbside service rather than them coming in the building. So this can be an online hub for them. So you can include things like your upcoming events. If you have virtual workshops and you record them, you can post them there. You can share photos. It can be more accessible and easier to update than relying on whoever is responsible for updating your school website. And you can share community happenings, things that are happening outside of the school that your parents may be interested in. The Google platform is free and easy to use. I had never built one before. Building one for our school, I just watched a couple of YouTube videos and figured it out. And it's working for us. One thing to note though, because everything is blocked in a district with websites. And so since our district does not use the Google platform, we use the Office platform, we had to get this site included. It had to be approved, right? So parents can access it on their students' devices. So that's just something to keep in mind to make sure that it's compatible with whatever your protocol is in your district. All right. Podcast. Okay, so this is another one that you may be thinking, I don't know about this, Sherrie. Where you going with this? It's a lot of tech, I know. But this is something that you can do with a cell phone and a free platform. So again, the reading coach at one of my schools, she had this idea of creating a podcast for students to kind of flex those literacy skills. And I had been thinking about doing a podcast as a way to share workshops in an unconventional way with parents. And so we're exploring this idea, how to get this off the ground that will achieve both of those goals. So this is where that DJ comes in that we talked about earlier. So he has a background in music production, and so he can help us with this sort of thing. But this is a great way for parents and students to contribute. Parents can listen in on their students, share their writing that they're working on in class. We can tap parents to share things that are happening, in their realm of influence. It's low cost or free to start up. Like I said, you can do it with a phone, or you can get a little fancier and get a microphone and do it that way. You can collaborate with community partners for spotlights. It could be a cluster initiative. So in our district, we are organized by clusters. So we work closely with the other schools in our geographic area and that feed into that to the high school. And so this could be a cluster initiative. You can tap local college or university media programs. In Columbia, the University of South Carolina, they have a radio station. So that's on our list of potential community partners, someone to reach out to who maybe could teach a class for families on how to get a podcast started. So just a fun way to engage them beyond meeting in person or meeting online for a workshop. All right, the next one is a First Steps partnership. So one of my schools partnered with First Steps Richland County to address a need. So we saw that enrollment for pre-kindergarten and kindergarten was decreasing. And so we're trying to figure out, well, why is that? Are parents just not comfortable with sending students in the building? Do parents not realize that we have a 4K program at the school? And so together we hosted registration pop-ups to enroll families on the spot. And so it was a true collaborative process. We worked with our local housing authority to find out where families in our attendance zone, where they lived, and if they had children who were turning 4 or 5 before September 1st. And so with that information, we created little door hangers. You may be familiar with them during like political campaigns. So we created door hangers, got them printed by the district, and went and hung them on the door. And it had the information on the pop-ups. Our partner put out like media alerts. We partnered with our early childhood office in the district, and they were like, hey, we can do that. We can come set up tables and screen kids on the spot. We had information on vaccines from another partner. Another partner of ours gave away free food boxes to the parents who showed up for the event. And then another partner, if you successfully enrolled your child in 4K in kindergarten during the pop-ups, you got a $50 gift card. So that was something that we wouldn't have been able to do on our own. And so collaborating with those community partners was key in that. It allowed us to increase our capacity to solve those challenges, to provide more resources for families, and identify other ways that we can work together to improve school readiness. Another great partnership is with Prisma Health. And this is, central to the Midlands. Well, I guess Prisma Health is now in the upstate too. But you can use this idea and then tap the organizations in your area to see if you could do something similar. So our hospital system, they already have an office that's dedicated to community outreach, and they have a Connected Communities program. It's a longstanding partnership between the hospital and high needs schools in our district. And the program provides a licensed social worker to work alongside the school to address social determinants of health. So that's economics, school, all those things that contribute to our health and wellness. And so partnering with organizations like this, consider more sustained ways to partner. So instead of reaching out to them for one-off events, consider ways that we can have a long-standing relationship and find out if there's any shared goals between the organization and the school. For instance, this particular organization, they were already doing work in our particular attendance zone. And so it was just a natural fit for us to work together.
We're a partnership between Prisma Health, United Way of the Midlands, and Hyde Park Elementary, but we're also available to help any family in the Eau Claire cluster. It's a totally free program, and it's as long or as short as you would like to help connect families with resources in the community. In addition to this program through Prisma Health, we also do a yearly health and wellness event.
And I'm sorry about the quality of the video. That was a video of a video. And another thing that we are working on with Prisma Health, again, they provide a licensed social worker in addition to the school social worker. And so this social worker works with our early childhood grade levels, so pre-K through first grade right now. And so that is a great addition and provides additional support for our families. And so one thing that came up in one of our action team meetings is a needs assessment. And so Prisma Health already has a needs assessment. It's a document that asks parents specific questions so we can direct them to the best resources. And so we're going to work together to adapt the form that they already have and in a way that works for Hyatt Park. So we're going to add questions about academics. So what needs are there? Because sometimes parents don't know what to ask. Like, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so if parents are unsure of what support services to ask about, this is a way for us to point them and our work in the right direction. And so here is just a screenshot of Prisma Health's form. Again, this is from their Office of Community Health. And so we're going to adapt this form to meet our school's needs. So these questions ask about like health and transportation. For instance, in the past year, have you not been able to see a doctor when you needed it? In the past year, has a lack of transportation kept you from getting to medical appointments, work, or other important places? Now we can use that information and say, oh, this parent also has an attendance issue. So maybe transportation is it, and we need to get them on the bus. So we're going to adapt this form and use it in this next year as we work with our families and identify our focus families. All right, the next idea is a community meeting. So I ran through all those alphabets a little earlier: SIC, PAC, ATP, PTO. It could be super overwhelming for families. I talked about my niece and nephew and how we are a shared network for supporting them. And my mom is like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. And so that sparked the idea. And also, we have a hard time getting our families to commit to serving on these committees long term. And so I was trying to figure out a way to brand it so that parents, feel like this is something that they can contribute to. So we're still going to take care of business. We're still going to meet our requirements of having, a core team, a core committee serving on these committees. But we're going to meet and call it a Cougar Community Night. And so we'll have all of our meetings at one time. We'll make it a little fun. Right now, of course, it has to be virtual, but when we can meet in person, we're going to make it real festive and more like a pep rally, if you will. So we're going to identify our core team. We can invite special speakers. And another cool thing that's happening, so my colleague at the middle school, which is the feeder school for the elementary school, she's doing the same thing at her middle school. And so parents are going to be used to doing this at Hyatt Park. And then when they move on to Gibbs Middle, they're going to do the same thing. So we're really excited about it. Welcoming new neighbors. This is another thing that I've been thinking about and exploring, and we're going to make happen this year. So if a new business has moved into the neighborhood, let's send them a welcome to the neighborhood email or card. This is a great way to build a relationship before making an ask, that should say. Let them know the great things that are happening at your school. Invite them to check out an upcoming event, learn more about the business so that you can share it with your families. For instance, we have a new medical office, Oak Street Health, I believe it is, just opened up right around the corner from our school. So I'd like to send them a note, and maybe it can come from our cluster and not necessarily just our school, to say, hey, welcome to Eau Claire. We're glad you're here. This is what's happening. This is how you can be involved. And another idea for our business partners, window cleans. So this is a very small thing, but this is a way to celebrate when businesses support your school and also have it very visible so that students and families know that they're supported beyond the school building. So they know that there are folks out in the community that are rallying for them and cheering them on. So it could be a little sticker that the business can post in their window. Again, this is something that I've been thinking about. How can we make it happen? But we're going to make it happen this year. And a free alternative to this, social media badges. So you may have seen this, for instance, when there's Celebration or Autism Awareness Month. You may see folks have a blue puzzle piece on their Facebook profile picture. So that's a badge. So we can make a little badge that say, you know, I'm a proud Cougar, or, you know, I support Hyatt Park. So if a business or an individual supports us, they can upload it on social media and kind of spread the word. And also families know that they're not alone, that they've got support out there. All right, another idea is community field trips. Again, when it's safe to do so. So make those pandemic pivots. But I've been talking to a community partner about how we can make this happen, to round up families for a community field trip and explore the assets in our local neighborhoods, or even go beyond the neighborhood to explore a new area of town. So you can partner with your local transportation authority. For instance, we've got the Comet in Columbia. It doesn't have to cost any money, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a field trip to a physical building. It could just be, hey, you know, on Saturday or Friday afternoon, you know, we're going to go explore the new, you know, art gallery that opened up in our neighborhood across the street, which is a true story. That happened, and we're planning to do so soon. But it could be, for instance, a tour of the public art in your town. Can you tell that I like art? But you can also link it to learning. So related to something that the students are learning in class, could be a way for the kids to kind of show off those skills to their parents and caregivers. Reading role models. So this can be a reading role model. It could be a math role model. But it's important, I feel, that parents, caregivers, adults, aunties, uncles, grandmas kind of demonstrate you know, a lifelong, you know, love of learning. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a textbook. I talk about this all the time, and my mom is super embarrassed by it, but growing up, my mom read romance novels all the time. And so I always saw her with a romance novel in her hands. My dad, he had a very strict routine when he came home from work. And it always included reading the state newspaper. And he would talk about the things that were happening around town. And so for me, you know, I am a natural researcher. I love researching and figuring things out and reading. And I think I get that honestly from my parents. And neither of my parents have, you know, 4-year college degrees. And so you don't have it's a way to demonstrate that it doesn't have to be academic for it to make a difference with your child academically, if you're following me. So you can partner with a reading coach or a local library to create family book lists. So an example of this, I'll just pop over to the next slide so you can see, for instance, if the book list, let's say we've got Jabari Jumps, which is about Jabari facing his fears. That could be a recommendation for the second grader. And for the parent, you can recommend The Professional Troublemaker, The Fear Fighter Manual by Lovey Ajayi Jones. And again, this is partnering with your local library or your reading coach, someone already in the building who has that content knowledge. And you can just be the one to facilitate it, to get it out to parents. And then in turn, you can help build confidence in parents who, again, may have their own literacy challenges. You can even make it a community-wide event.
Sherrie, you have about 5 minutes left for your
Okay.
presentation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So parent champions involve parents in ways that go beyond SIC PTO. Think booster club for learning, like we've got athletic booster clubs on the high school level. So this could be an opportunity, low risk for parents to jump in and say, hey, I'm going to put on a school t-shirt and I'm going to wave at people in the car rider line. I think our keynote person may have mentioned that this morning too. Increase school pride and empower parents to lead the way. I'm going to skip over this one because that's a little self-explanatory about summer guides. Social media campaigns. This is adding in a call or response to your programming. So, you know, two-way communication, we talk about that a lot, but it doesn't always have to be, you know, them giving feedback on a particular thing. They can just, you know, celebrate that they participated. For instance, in that art program, the art family night I talked about, we put out the call to action. Hey parents, once you finish the activity with your child, text me a picture. You can even say, hey, we've got a hashtag for our event, post it on your social media and tag the school in it. Tabling at community events, shout out to my colleagues. I know some of the high school specialists, they set up tables for like local football games, the high school football games. In the museum world, we would set up like demo spots where you could teach a little short lesson to kind of increase the engagement in a particular area that can easily be transferred to our work too. And the last thing is an engagement tracker. We piloted this last year and we want to tweak it a little bit and try again this year. This is a way for parents to track their engagement. This is to encourage long-term engagement. So don't just show up for the one parent party and that's it. It can be a way to illustrate multiple ways to engage. So you attended that parent-teacher conference, add it to your tracker. You answered the teacher's call because she wanted to talk to you about your child's assessment scores, add it to your tracker. And then we have a partner who helps us celebrate our parents once they reach certain milestones. And here is just a screenshot of something that I just made real quick about ways that they can track it along a game board. And again, we're going to tweak this a little bit to make it work virtually. All right, that brings us to questions and answers. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. I also have I've linked a resource doc in the chat. I'll put it again before we leave. And that has a copy of my slides and some websites that may be useful for your work. And also the framework is there.
Okay, we have a few questions that are in the chat box already.
I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you.
The first one goes back to the video commercial.
Mm-hmm.
What program did you use to record it? And did you email that video or commercial out to the parents?
Canva. I use Canva for everything. Canva is also listed on that resource document. And someone said they couldn't click anything on the resource document. I'll adjust it, but the link should still work regardless. But I use Canva. It works great. And what was the last part of that question? Did I email it out?
Did you email it out? Yes.
I actually text. I send it via text. Our families, they tend to use the cell phones for text messages rather than email. And so that was the best way to send it out. So I just sent a mass text to our families. We also posted it on our website.
Okay, and most everything else was just kudos and compliments and
Oh, thanks, guys.
Awesome, awesome. If we could at this time use those emojis listed in reactions, and let's give her a round of applause. That was just wonderful.
Thank you. Thank
Wonderful,
you. Thank you.
wonderful. Yes, they said, can you please share the link again to your resource document?
Yeah. And if this doesn't work, all of our materials will be posted on the State Department's website once the conference wraps. And so I will include the resource document there as well, but I'll put it in the chat one more time. But someone said, uh-oh, I think I sent it to just one person. Let me try that again.
What do you use to text your families?
Just my cell phone. I don't use a special program. As I talk to parents, I program the numbers in my phone. So I know who's calling me. I know it's not the most efficient thing to do. And we are very privileged that we have district cell phones. And so this isn't my personal cell phone that I'm using. But there are programs out there where you can send mass text messages, but I just send them just using the regular iPhone app, iMessage app.
Are there any other questions that anyone would like to ask at this time? Kudos, kudos, kudos. We would like to thank you all for attending this session. She did an outstanding job of presenting ready to implement family engagement strategies that are out of the box of what we regularly do with our parents. These are definitely 21st century strategies for today's social community. Again, Ms. Belton, thank you, thank you, thank you for the wonderful session today. As she stated, this session was recorded and the video will be available on the South Carolina Department of Education website once the summit concludes and they're able to upload all videos. Again, I want from Dr. Green following this session. It will be the main room that we were in earlier, first thing this morning when we were on. When we logged on at 8:30. So again, I would like to say thank you for everyone for attending. Thank you, Ms. Belton, for and I'm out of the classroom. I don't even work with them anymore. And I promise you, I'm making phone calls this evening to tell some of my former coworkers, hey, I got some ideas, because
Thank you so much.
I was always that individual trying to think of different things to, have our parents interactive and involved. And oh, my head is just.
And I will say just one tip, like I said, I'm a researcher, and so I enjoy that sort of thing. But I did put a few things on the resource document, but look at other SIC, like report to parents at other schools, not, across the state, in other states, what they're doing. And I keep kind of like a running document, like, okay, this is the thing I might want to try. So just throwing it out there.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So this will conclude this session. And again, make sure that you return to the main session once this ends. If that is all, everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.